The Design Museum was here first. When I began my design, this planning zone was built with large-scale commercial buildings. And so in this context, the question was raised as to how a cultural building, as a meeting place for people, could be differentiated from other rather trivial commercial buildings. That was the puzzle I wanted to solve. In order to encourage as many people as possible to come and visit the museum, I chose two motifs. One is contrast, the other is integration. Normally in museums you find white walls hung with artworks. And according to convention, you would present industrial works of art, like cars, on the floor. But in our case, cars can float in the space. And the people? They too can float, because there is no scale and no real boundary. It feels as though instead of walking on the ground, you are floating through the space. As we see, the building developed into a natural and almost perfect form. This is the external form. The interior was conceived as a continuous sequence, without scale, without boundary. When you stand inside on the ramp, you get the feeling that you are floating. This concept contradicts the usual museum experience, because normally you would encounter white walls on which artwork is exhibited. But in our building, the interior gives the feeling that the cars had wings and could fly. And the people inside, they can swim in water. We managed to integrate the building by using diffusely reflecting materials, on which, for example, only the shadows of people approaching the building are reflected. The changing sky, whether in the morning or at midday or evening, as well as other changes in the environment, all become visible on the building. I call buildings like this disappearing or invisible buildings. I think that is a method rooted in Chinese culture, concealing oneself. With these two motifs, we have succeeded in making the building harmonious, sometimes highly noticeable, and sometimes almost invisible. The building is strongly related to the idea of combining modern Chinese culture with traditional forms in architecture. And so instead of placing the emphasis on material and form, we need to concentrate much more on the idea and spirit behind the design. Emptiness is not zero, and zero is in reality infinite. I find concepts like these that draw on Chinese culture fascinating.